So finally, after what, more than 2 years of patiently waiting for this game to get out of the absolute alpha state that it was released in, after building a PC which I have to periodically sniff just to make sure it doesn't set my house on fire, just to be able to run this game, I finally got to play Cyberpunk. And I've got a few things to say about it, so hold on tight, cause this thing pissed me off. At first everything was going well, started as a nomad cause by this point I was sick and tired of seeing the street rat intro, and I was having fun. The game looks amazing, and of course I turned the settings up to 11. I have to say, they did patch things up. A lot less buggy, less visual glitches, there's still some there, but not more than you would expect from any other modern game. And certainly a huge difference than what I had to deal with when I tried to play this thing on my PlayStation Pro.
Oh, Jesus! Oh, God! Oh, Jesus, God! Oh, Mary, Mother of Jesus, Jesus of Nazareth!
But slowly, yet surely, I was getting more and more disappointed with what this game was actually offering. Because once you get past the looks and the amazing world it tries to portray, you start to realize that this world has the depth of a puppy dog's piss puddle. And I think that most gamers tore this game a new one, but there are still people out there defending this, and I simply don't understand. Oh, you have unreasonable expectations of this game. Look, this game is made by CDPR, the same guys that made the Witcher series of games. I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect the same elements of those games to be transferred to their newest game. And yes, this is a first-person shooter RPG, futuristic, drive cars, shoot guns and all that, while the other games just had sword dancing Geralt. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. You see, the game actually manages to be a decent shooter. The driving ain't half bad, especially after a couple of patches, and the first-person perspective is really immersive. I never in my mind compared this to GTA, like some other people have, so I've got no problem with all these new elements that CDPR decided to add to their newest game. No problem whatsoever.
No disrespect to you.
But what I do have a problem with is the RPG elements, or lack thereof. This game is meant to immerse me in this Cyberpunk Blade Runner Total Recall universe, but it completely fails because it lacks any depth. Your first clue of this issue is by how you get access to a majority of your activities in this game. A little square pops up on your screen with someone just handing you a quest or activity. What is this, 2005? Tiny nitpick, I'm sure, but it's a sign of things to come. Oh, but it's immersive because it's the future, so the person you talk to gets directly projected onto your greasy eyeballs. So what you're telling me is they use the excuse of the future to be lazy and just give you quests without having you to go to a physical location in the game and interacting with an actual NPC?
I'm raising my eyebrows in mock skepticism to you.
Now no, not all quests are like that, but oh, you wanna talk about the quests? Okay. First, the video I made a long time ago where I point out that CDPR decided to cut quests so everyone could experience the magic of the end screen totally holds up. These people literally removed quests and by association story elements, and because of that, everything feels rushed and half-assed. Going from a game like The Witcher 3 where you find out the backstory of every twig and know what kind of toys some people like to use in their free time to this shallow thing might just give you whiplash. Where do I start with this? Okay, so firstly, spoilers. So you start the game playing as V, a loser that wants to become someone. I think the game does a very poor job of fleshing out the motivation of our so-called protagonist, other than not wanting to die from the chip he inserted in his brain. He has zero personality and he doesn't evolve at all by the end of the game. He starts a loser and ends a loser. And the same can be said about most of the supporting characters. By the end of the game, I don't feel like I want to know anything more about these people. Not that there is anything more. Because aside from Johnny, which I'll get to, the only other person I would like to get to know more is Judy. Her story actually made me want to know more about what's going on with her. Oh, but I can't do that because the developers that gave us collectible sex cards, Yennefer, Triss, Kira, Shani, and Sienna, or whatever the fuck her name is, and a multitude of brothels, get this, only give us one option for romance in this entire game. One! Well, actually, you get two. No, you get one, depending on your gender. If you like girls, you get one. If you like guys, you get one. You're basically hard-coded into picking just one, which in my case was Pan Am. And that tank scene nearly gave me a seizure. And while I'm at it, you get just one, how should I put this, street worker? One in the entirety of Night City. Oh, well, actually, you get two.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
The most decadent city on earth, the city of sex, drugs, and every vice under the sun that just begs God for a smiting.
Smite me, almighty smiter!
And you only get one lady of the night and one dude of the night. So you take control of V, who has no personality, which, by the way, this isn't Pathfinder, okay? Where you get to craft and design your own character from the ground up so it can act as a sort of canvas for the player to paint with all the story choices. No, this guy gets no life-altering choices and is meant to have a personality. God only knows what that is. So anyway, you play as V and you've got a total of around 30 missions, the last of which are bunched together in a chain quest, the point of no return kind. Compare that to the 60 main missions in Witcher 3, which are all fleshed out, standalone, quality quests, and that's not even counting the DLC quests. CDPR, you're brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for making sure I finish this damn game as fast as possible. God forbid I would want to stay in this world any longer. You really understand your player base. It speaks volumes about your vision for the story when seeing the ending takes precedence over how you get there. Imagine if other great stories out there resorted to cutting the story so everyone can finish it. Imagine the Lord of the Rings trilogy, only instead of a beautifully fleshed out trilogy, Tolkien just goes, get this shit out the way, people don't have time for this bullshit.
Fuck outta here.
Straight garbage mentality. Speaking of garbage, back to V. And if you expected this video to be a coherent masterpiece, well, you're just wrong. It's left, right, left again, kick to the nuts. This is me wildly flailing at this thing. So how is this fantastic ending you really want me to experience? Well, I can only describe it as a Mass Effect 3 ending version 2.0. Okay, maybe not that bad, but it definitely gave me flashbacks, and it did feel cheap and rushed, so I guess they're at least somewhat related to each other. Because basically the most important decisions you can make in this game is in the last missions, the point of no return ones, with very little carrying over from other missions, and in all the endings apart from the space one, it's heavily implied that you only have a couple of months to live, so you failed anyway! Arguably the best ending for you is the one where you run away, the Nomad ending. You go to your Nomad buddies, break into Arasaka, kill Adam Smasher, who I saw for a total of 2 times in the entire game, in 2 extremely short exchanges. If it wasn't for the Edge Runner anime, I wouldn't even know or care who this guy was. The only notable thing about him would have been that he was the second and last boss of the main story. Then you connect to the server and let Al do her thing, and that's it. You leave the city and you'll most likely die in 6 months. The end. So what about the side quests? Well, there are a few gems here, like the one where you are hired by the potential future mayor of Night City who doesn't trust the official story surrounding the death of the previous mayor. You end up discovering a conspiracy complete with a memory-altering shadow agency. It's very Blade Runner-ish, like a noir detective story. It's perfect, I like it. Or the quest where you run into this criminal who wants to be crucified live, his memory of the event being made into a BD, short for braindance, in hopes that he will turn others from sin and also find forgiveness. And he actually believes what he's saying. It brings up a nice potential for a philosophical discussion on what it means to forgive and why we are searching for forgiveness in the first place. Is it for our own peace of mind or is it for more altruistic reasons? At one point he even goes and asks for forgiveness from the mother of one of his victims, and your character has to sit there and take this all in, and it makes you think on deeper things. In the follow-up quest you actually get to participate in the crucifixion. He finally realizes what he's about to do and you get to choose to pray with the guy. And it was a real moral dilemma for me because I didn't like the guy. I thought the guy was full of it, fooling himself into thinking this farce will somehow absolve him of his crimes, or in this case, sins. We even get a choice of different religions to pray in. Neat. I was constantly thinking, what does this represent? What do my choices say about me? And that's what art is in my mind. Art should make you self-reflect. Unfortunately, I get the impression that again they cut some content, because the game sort of implies that you would get to spend more time with these characters in order to get to know them better. But no, it would have been nice to at least have a lengthy dialogue with Johnny about all this stuff, but unfortunately we can't do that. So aside from quests, what do you do in this huge ass city? How do you immerse yourself? Well, there are no minigames apart from one stupid arcade game that just references a much better game where you play as this stupid horse high on crack, jumping over obstacles and shit. How does this in any way, shape or form compare to Gwent, which was so detailed and intriguing and made you want to collect them all with multiple quests centered around this one minigame?
It doesn't.
Another tertiary activity is to go in places and either retrieve something or clear them out or deal with a cyberpsycho. They're entertaining for a while, but it gets repetitive. People complained about all the repetitiveness of Assassin's Creed games or hell Ubisoft games in general where you have to go and clear out a place. Well, that's all these things are, so you better enjoy it or you're in trouble. Now I said I was gonna talk about Johnny. He is the only thing that makes V interesting. Every time he pops out I'm like, oh thank God you're here. But remember, you have 30 main quests and in a lot of them he doesn't even come out. And when he does, it's all very superficial. In secondary stuff you can sometimes get a reaction out of him, but I just wish there was more. And the relationship between him and V is all over the place. Depending on the script, you could have just finished a quest where you two really bonded, only for in the next quest to be back at yelling at each other. So V's motivation is to somehow get the chip with Johnny in it out of his head. And Johnny's motivation, well, he doesn't really have one until midway through the story where he finds out his ex, Alt, might still be alive. And I'm more interested in Johnny's story, like hell yeah dude, let's save your girl, especially after experiencing Johnny's memories of her.
We got you, dog. You're our boy, dog. Don't even trip.
How the fuck is the best sex scene in the game a memory of another person? They did this whole story wrong, everything is ass backwards. The story is not engaging, you play a dude possessed by another dude and the other dude is more interesting than this dude.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
If it was up to me, this is how I would have wrote the story. You flip it around, you play as Johnny and you possess V, and you go out there and try to save your ex, who isn't just an amalgamation of a bunch of AI and what's left of Alt's fried up cerebral cortex. No, fuck that. In my story, she's still alive, somewhere, being used as a living, breathing AI, you know, like Lucy in Edge Runner, against the actual AI that's out there in the original internet. And you are presented with the moral conundrum of possessing V. Hell, you would even have the possibility of a romance developing between V and Johnny and all the moral implications of that happening. And while I'm at it, to find out where they're holding out, you have to hack a thing on the moon. Oh, but how do you get there? Well, you hijack one of those rockets like in Wolfenstein when he went to Venus, and then you fight on the moon. You find all sorts of alien type of experiments, maybe even an actual alien, maybe kill Hitler on the way, and then you crash back in the city with the location, and that's just one fucking quest. Also, another thing I would change is to give players a lot more things to do in Night City as activities. The game makes a big deal out of BDs, but apart from 2 or 3 scripted lame-ass interactions, you don't get to do any brain dancing. Which is weird because you can constantly find BDs around Night City, but you just can't stick them in your brain. Well, why not? Imagine instead of all the sex cards from Witcher 1, you could collect BDs and you can get to experience some awesome shit. Or you just want sex in the game. Of course I do, it's Night City and I'm a degenerate. We should be doing all sorts of cool stuff with these BDs. What, you are afraid the game would get a mature rating? It already has a 17+, you can already see Alt naked. And you get to choose the junk between your legs, but you never get to use it. I thought this was sci-fi, not real life. What the hell, what's the point, just to piss me off? In the main story, you get to go to a brothel, or whatever the modern term is, where they specialize in fulfilling your fantasies by reading your mind and designing the perfect partner for you. Do you think you can do that? Yes? Of course not. Then why even have it in the game to begin with? This whole game is one big tease. Imagine if they actually implemented that in the game. Instead we go there and we just talk. All in all, this game is one disappointment and missed opportunity one after another, and it's a shame because it had so much potential. They could have done so much and did so little, and by the end of it, it just leaves you empty. I really hope they make another one and do it right this time. Go crazy, show some polished balls and give us the Cyberpunk we deserve. Straight after I finished it, I went and played Guardians of the Galaxy, and it reminded me of one more thing, the soundtrack. I don't know about you guys, but I just wish they added some Lost Years synth music in there. Not even on the radio, but just to accompany you on your journey through Night City. Anyways, thanks for watching and take care.